Welcome to AM Muscle Maintenance with InShape Fitness. I'm Coach Kim, and today's morning routine is a 3-part equipment-free session. It's composed of several moves that are isometric, so just poses that you hold to stimulate blood flow to certain areas of your body, mostly your core. And then we're going to do one move in lots of different forms for an aerobic portion of the session, and then we're going to finish with a little bit of plyometrics and obviously some stretching. Let's start with a postural systems check, because as you start your Monday morning or any morning of the week, the very first thing that you want to do is make sure that you are breathing deeply. You inhale through your nose and exhale through your mouth, as I've taught you many times before. The reason to inhale through your nose really has to do with the way that the air filters through the receptors inside of your nose relative to the air coming in through your mouth. A lot of passive breathing takes place through the mouth, through your day. And when you inhale deeply through your mouth, as sometimes I'll see people, if I'm training them for a run or just even sitting around at a, like in a high stress situation, like in a meeting, you inhale air through your mouth, and that activates a primitive part of your brain, the fight or flight part of your brain, which secretes stress hormones and elevates your heart rate unnecessarily. So you want to inhale through your nose in order to keep that executive functioning brain in control of your body parts. Then you want to make sure that your head is back and that your ears and shoulders line up in one straight vertical line. That is necessary for your center of gravity to be in its proper place. You want your shoulders to be back so that your chest is forward and open. That helps you respirate well as in addition. And then moving down the body, make sure that your tummy muscles are zipped up. Make sure that your tailbone is tucked in so that your butt doesn't stick out, which is technically a tilt of your pelvis. And that's a result of sitting around so much. Lots of people have this condition called lordosis, and it is a function of sitting on your butt all day, which causes the pelvis to tilt, which pulls on your hip flexors, causes further tightening of them, and contracts the lower back, causing lower back pain. Then you want to make sure that when you're standing up tall, and I want you to be standing now, your feet are pressing into the floor in equal parts, left foot, right foot. So if you're right dominant, you're right-handed, that means that your right leg probably is stronger, which means that your right foot may make more sort of effort to stabilize your body, but make sure you're focused on both legs. And then with your feet, make sure that you're pressing into the floor with all four corners, four proverbial corners of your feet, so that you don't, mash the heel into the floor or whatever. Take a couple of last breaths, and we're going to start a couple of exercises. As I said in the beginning, we're going to start with a couple of isometric exercises. That means that your muscles aren't moving, but rather you're just holding a position, and the hold position that we all know and love so much is to just plop down on the floor and hold a plank. Now, before you just jump right into it, it's going to be for 1 minute. And if you cannot hold a plank for 1 minute, what you do is you downgrade your plank to a knee plank, so that you are still holding the position, but rather you're shortening the lever so that it's not quite so difficult. The plank on your elbows is with elbows and shoulders making one straight line. Don't make fists with your hands. You want to flatten your hands, and I would suggest splay your fingers really out wide. The distribution of energy through the fist, because it taps into the energy you have to hold the pose. But the opening up the fingers also provides your phalanges with a little additional air and flexibility training. So then you walk your feet out into the plank. I'm going to start the minute now. And what I want you to do as you're holding this position is make sure that you keep your butt down. One straight line is the cornerstone of difficulty for this position, but it's the meaning behind the position, because when you're in this horizontal line, as your body is resting in this position, the isometric contractions are significant, not just because the plank is a really great way to slim your tummy down, because it's squeezing all the muscle layers that you have that line your rib cage and protect your trunk, all of the vital organs of your trunk are protected by the rib cage, but also by the connective tissues, the muscles, the ligaments and tendons, and then the fascia. With the isometric contraction, and by the way, you're more than halfway through. In fact, you're down to 15 seconds here. Your vital organs have a better capability level in terms of those protective forces that they need to bestow upon the vital organs. The muscle layers are helping you maintain that functionality through all of the muscle layers and through the vital organs of your trunk. Okay, so you're done. You're in child's pose. Take a couple of seconds to rest and then flip over to your back. So take 3 deep breaths in child's pose. If you can't hold a plank for 1 minute, by the way, and you had to about halfway through drop to your knees, don't stress it. You work your way up to it. But if you're under the age of really 55, you should be able to hold a plank for a minute. Even if you're pretty active, I'd say even to 65, that's still a really good target for you to be able to maintain. All right, now on your back, I want you to lift up into a hip bridge. Similarly, we're going to hold a hip bridge for 1 minute. It's not as hard, but if you do it the right way, then you're going to activate some parts of the body that are really neglected during the day when you're sitting down. So the hip bridge in its proper form, your back is obviously flat. You're lying on your back. Your gaze is up at your ceiling or to the sky. Your knees are bended and your ankles line up with your knees in one vertical straight line again. And then your toes and your heels are straight as well. Your toes point forward. If you have a tendency of turning your feet outward so that your toes are out, correct that now. And then keep your feet flat. Don't let your toes lift up off of the floor. The minute is going now. And this might be relatively easy for you. So if you don't feel anything, obviously you might feel the hip flexors stretch out, which is the main reason to get into this position and to simply hold it so that your hip flexors are stimulated by that elongated state. But what is great about this position as well, and you can lift up your heels a little bit. If you feel like you can, hold the position with just the balls of your feet. You activate, you shoot some energy right into your hamstrings and your butt. Another part, or 2 parts rather, of the body, 4 parts if you consider you've got 2 legs. So a part of the body that is really dormant during the day when you're sitting are your hamstrings and your butt muscles. You're sitting on your butt, but your hamstrings have no activity whatsoever. Last 5 seconds. And your butt muscles can use that extra shot of energy as well. All right. Now, stand up onto your feet. Find a wall. I want you to find a wall because the last 1 minute isometric exercise is a wall sit. So just think about the simplicity of this for a second. I know, this is not a supervised session. I'm not with you, but these are specific kind of educated podcast workouts where I'm giving you instruction about how to do them. But if you were just to come into your living room floor at the beginning of the day and take 1 minute for a plank, 1 minute for a heels up hip bridge, and then 1 minute on your wall, sitting down on your wall, go ahead and get started. Your minute is going now. And what you want to do with the wall sit is push the shoulders back. Obviously, what you're going to feel are your quadriceps. Those are the biggest muscle groups in your body in terms of mass. Your quad as a group is 4 muscles on either side, and you are going to need them all day long. You activate your butt a little bit and your hip flexors a little bit. Your tummy muscles should be tight. You're halfway through your wall sit here. Again, this is a really, really hard exercise to do for 1 minute. So if you can't, then come up a little bit higher out of the right angles that you'd make with your back, hips, knees, the right angles that you create. Last 5 seconds, it's perfectly fine to sort of downgrade the wall sit if you can't make it for that last couple of seconds. Okay, Take a couple of seconds to stretch out. If you want to stretch your quads, hold on to something, grab an ankle, and pull back towards your butt, the foot, so that you can stretch out your quads. We're going to start the aerobic section here now. But again, back to that simplicity sort of idea, if you're doing this sequence on your own, take 3 minutes and perform each of these isometric exercises to shoot some blood flow into the soft tissues of your body after you sleep. It's called capillary pumping. By some measures, it's one of the keys to activating your metabolism and to getting your energy level to the point where you can start your day off right and get moving and hit the ground running in terms of, from bed to dressed to schedule. And that's hard. It could certainly be hard on a Monday. Okay, so the one move we're going to do aerobically is what I call a walkout. So it's not a burpee, because when you put your hands down on the floor, you're not going to move your feet. You're not going to walk your feet back or jump your feet back. What you're going to do is you're going to squat all the way down, and you're going to put your hands on the floor, and then you're going to walk your hands out to a hand plank or a push-up start position, and then you're going to walk your hands back. We're going to time this to be 3 minutes of aerobic work. So it's 3 minutes of isometric work, 3 minutes of aerobic work. And we're going to do a couple of variations of the walkout. Once you get to the walkout, to the push-up starting position, then you walk your hands back and stand all the way up. Go ahead and try a couple of those. I'm going to start the 3 minutes now. So you're walking out. Each takes about 15 to 20 seconds if you walk out and walk back and stand up properly. And when you stand up properly, you squeeze your butt cheeks and you press your heels into the floor as you lift your body straight up. Try not to stay so hunched over. It's not good for your center of gravity and your balance, your vestibular system, but it's also better for the mechanics if you try to make a straight line by standing up straight with your hip hinge as opposed to the forward sort of lurched over or hunched over back as the last body part that straightens up. So the other things that you can do in the walkout, you're 40 seconds into this aerobic maneuver, and when you get down to the walkout, the push-up start position, perform a push-up, just one push-up, and then walk your hands back and stand all the way up. Keep doing these in 3 minutes. If it takes about 20 seconds to do each, that's 3 walkouts per minute, or a total of 9. So literally, we're not talking about a ton of repetitions here. Some of the other things that you can do are walk out dynamic dogs. So you get to push-up position on the floor with your hands and then your feet. Then lift your butt up high for downward facing dog. Then drop your butt down low and arch your back with your chest up high for upward facing dog. Then go back to the starting position of the push-up and then walk your hands back and then stand all the way up. We're doing really, really wonderful. You're down to your last minute here. Another one to try is a walk out side plank, where you get to the push-up starting position. You turn your whole body to the right as you lift your right hand up off of the floor and extend the right hand until it reaches towards your ceiling, and then drop down, and then do the same thing with the left hand and the left side of the body. Turn the whole body to the side, and then return to your standing position. Last one, whichever one you're thinking is your most favorite, I guess. Walkout push-ups to me are the easiest to do, and I love doing push-ups. Push-ups, if you haven't, go back a couple of weeks to the push-up exercise regimens that I did 2 of them related to the new Harvard study and the number of push-ups that you can do and how it relates to the probability that you might develop heart conditions later in life. It's a very interesting study that was conducted and reported out just in the last few months. All right, the last 3 minutes, or the last 3 exercises, are plyometric. So we did isometric, aerobic, and now we're going to do plyometric. Your heart rate obviously is going to stay up while you're doing a plyometric maneuver. And for 3 minutes, we're going to do 3 more exercises. If you cannot jump, talk to a doctor about how you might develop the ability to do some jumping, because plyometrics are really, really important. You've got 3 minutes of jumping jacks. Go ahead and get started. It seems like the aerobic part is going to be the hardest part of this workout, doesn't it? But jumping jacks are not hard. And if your heart rate is elevated too high right now and you feel like you need to do something a little easier, just do the bottom half. Just do the jumping your feet out with your hands on your hips, even maybe. The half jacks. All right, so you're about a minute in, a little less than a minute in. And the reason that we do plyometrics is because as human beings, we're the only mammals, right, on our 2 feet. I actually have been doing some research on this other mammal that's called the pangolin. It looks like a reptile because it has scales, but it is a mammal. And it looks like it's on its all 4 legs because it is low to the ground, but actually it has these little hands that are in the front of the body, the four legs, and they don't generally touch the ground while the pangolin is walking. So it is a 2-legged animal. All right, your last couple of seconds here for jumping jacks while I'm talking about another animal is going to go fast. 5 seconds now. 4, 3, 2, 1. Take a couple of deep breaths. Anyway, so the reason for the plyometrics is that as 2-legged animals, almost all of the lower functioning nerve endings reside or terminate in your feet. Reflexology, if you ever look at whether you believe in Eastern medicine or not, there is a connection even to all the vital organs that reside in your trunk to the nerve endings that terminate in your feet. So everything that goes on in your body has a termination point from a neuromuscular perspective, a neurological perspective, the peripheral nervous system. And so when you activate the nerve endings by jumping around, now the next thing we're going to actually do are a couple of squat jumps. So this is also for 1 minute, just 1 minute of squat jumps. And you're going to sit into a chair, and then as you come up, you're going to do a little jump. And then you're going to sit into a chair. You don't have to do that many of these. For 1 minute, your time is 10 seconds in, so you might do 10 or 15 of these, squat, and then hop. And it's a little hop. It's about an inch or 2 off of the floor at most. If you want to do a couple of high jumps after you sit into the squat, more power to you. You're halfway through, by the way. But again, as you make some impact coming from the air down to the floor, when your foot makes contact again with the floor, that impact is less hard on your skeletal system, orthopedic sort of skeletal system, and the orthopedic conditions that you might have than you may think. But the positive response to the soft tissues and to the nerve endings that terminate in your feet is a real benefit to not only your metabolism and your energy, but also to the functionality of your body as a whole. The last thing that we're going to do is to elevate one leg and do a tiny bunny hop just for 30 seconds on the right leg, and then a little bunny hop on the left leg. And I'll tell you why you're going to do that as we get started. Your time is going for your right leg. Most people are right-handed, so this won't be that difficult for you. When you lift the left leg up, you're 10 seconds in, by the way. You are bouncing again, just a tiny little hop, 1 inch off the floor, lightly landing on the balls of your feet. And this, again, will not be all that difficult for you. The reason that we're going to do it is because it's always helpful to force the left leg to work independently of the right leg in a couple of different ways. I've only chosen this particular one today because we're doing some plyometric exercises here at the end, but I do one-legged lunges. Obviously, lunges are always one-legged, but do lunges so that you can execute and force the left leg to be a stabilizer as well as the leading foot Okay, switch now to the other side. You're going to lift up the right leg and you're going to bounce slightly on the left leg only for 30 seconds. Your time starts now. Is it harder? It might seem harder. You're almost halfway. You are halfway now. So 15 more seconds. And that difference between the right leg and the left leg, it doesn't make a huge difference in the quality of your life on a regular basis. Last 3 seconds, 2 and 1. Very good job. Great job, in fact. Take a couple of deep breaths and then squat back down to the floor and lower yourself into child's pose. But when you're walking, if you are hiking or jogging or cycling, even swimming, over time, the left leg tires faster because it is fundamentally weaker. And it doesn't have to be. It's not ever going to probably be as equally sort of composed and as strong as the right side, but the left side of the body does need to have some responsibility, I guess, if you will, in order to keep it somewhat equal, because it, in those long-term sort of recreational events, particularly if you have a bucket list item like running a marathon or even just getting off the couch and running a 5K, the right side of your body, if you're right-handed, over the course of that experience, the right side is going to do a little more work. The left leg is going to be favored a little more because it's getting tired faster. And ultimately, you could end up with issues related to repetitive stress on the right side of your body. We call this functional priority pivoting because we are two-legged animals. That's going back to that sort of goofy thing I was talking about earlier, this animal. It's actually a really serious issue, the pangolin plight, because it is the only scaled mammal, and there are some mystical people in different parts of the world that think that its tissues and its scales have medicinal value, and therefore it's poached a lot. So we're killing off the species, this mammal called the pangolin, and it is it does motor on, it ambulates on its back legs only, but humans are the only upright mammals, only animals without tails, only animals without, or not animals without tails that are used for sort of steering the body, used as a center of gravity, and we need to take good care to make sure that we don't develop that lopsided balance that tends to happen with a lot of people, especially people that want to exercise and that try, but then end up with injuries over time. So enjoy the rest of your week. I'll be back next week with another new workout on this channel, and then tune in later this week at the In Shape Fitness Show for another podcast. I think this week we're going to focus on multidimensional movement, and one of my favorite multidimensional movements is martial arts. I'm going to talk a little bit about Bruce Lee and about how he developed his style of martial arts when he was a young lad in San Francisco. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.